We do move on to the other news this Monday night and the other major developing story, the escalating deadly violence between Israel and Hamas, and the news just before we came on the air tonight that President Biden, for the first time, has expressed his support of a ceasefire. He expressed this in a call late today with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Israel, with its deadliest assault in the past 24 hours, first responders in Gaza combing the rubble for survivors, and Hamas with a relentless barrage of rocket fire themselves. One rocket destroying this home some 30 miles from Gaza. ABC's Matt Gutman with late reporting from Tel Aviv tonight.
Tonight, Israel unleashing a ferocious aerial assault, saying it targeted Hamas tunnels in the Gaza Strip. And these terrified children cowering in fear as bombs exploded nearby. Using their bare hands, rescuers clawing through the debris of collapsed buildings, this little girl pulled out alive, encrusted with dust and blood. And beside one of those debris piles was Mohammed Hadidi, wailing in anguish. He said his wife and 5 sons were visiting family at this home when the bombs came. An hour later, in a haze of grief, he was led into this hospital, and there a little miracle awaited. His son Omar, the father tenderly kissing his son, little Omar clutching his father's finger. So far, more than 200 Palestinians killed, nearly half women and children, and more than 1,400 wounded. On the Israeli side, 10 killed and 300 wounded. In Gaza, officials say 7,000 buildings have been damaged or destroyed, leaving nearly 40,000 people homeless. And tonight, Israel also facing international condemnation for this attack, which leveled a building housing the Associated Press and Al Jazeera. Israel says Hamas was operating there, claiming it shared the intel with the U.S. But when Secretary of State Blinken was asked about that today,
I've not seen any information provided.
President Biden, whose administration says it's relying on quiet diplomacy, today calling Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu, saying for the first time publicly he supports a ceasefire. The Israeli military says Hamas has fired more than 3,300 rockets at Israel so far. Today, we were right beneath one of those barrages.
Whoa, getting my flak jacket on, you can see all those booms in the air here. Intense warfare right above us. Let's go. You can hear it right overhead.
The southern Israeli city of Ashkelon targeted more than any other.
Jillian, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
And that's where 9 years ago we met Jillian Daniel. Her family hurrying to that bomb shelter. Today we paid her another visit.
9 years ago, we were sitting right here.
Yeah.
And there were sirens, the rockets came raining down. Has anything changed?
No.
And that's the incredible thing. So glad you went back to revisit some of the families who have lived through this before. And Matt with us from Tel Aviv again tonight. And Matt, as I mentioned there a moment ago, President Biden late today expressing his support for a ceasefire now. We know about 30 senators, including Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, had already called for one. Obviously, the question is, will this make a difference? What are you hearing on the ground?
Sources here in Israel, David, are telling me that at least over the next 48 hours or so, it's very unlikely that we'll see a ceasefire. But the pressure is likely going to mount on Israel to halt those airstrikes as the week progresses. Can't underestimate this diplomatic blitz by the U.S. over the past several days. The U.S. envoy here on the ground, Secretary Blinken, of course, speaking with his counterparts in the Arab world. And as you mentioned, President Biden, for the first time, publicly supporting a ceasefire. David.
Fast-moving developments tonight. Matt Gutman, thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.